How are you?
Hi, I'm Dawn Cleveland from Little Leonard.
Philip Murphy.
It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Do you know Lisa Swain?
Hi, Lisa. It's nice to meet you. I'm Dawn Cleveland. Where's your facility? I'm in Hackensack on Essex Street, right by the courthouse.
Jim Tedesco. How are you, buddy? How you doing? Every day you wake up, there's a new wrinkle.
There's something new. Every day.
Yeah.
All these people that we've done this for.
Yeah. Not a good morning. We'll find out. Hey, Josh. How are you, buddy? Good?
Good?
Yeah, I'm great. Well, good. It's great overstay.
Congressman. All right.
We all set? Yeah, yes, we are.
Do we wear masks while we speak?
I'm not going to.
All right, you can take them down?
Yep.
All right.
Say hi to Marion, will you?
Will do. Wait a minute.
Boys. We'd love dinner one of these days. We'll give outside. A little bit warmer weather. Love it.
Love you. We all set?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Is this on? Beautiful. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody to Paramus today. We made a quick phone call. We got some sun and nice weather, apparently the nicest of the week. It's always a privilege and honor to introduce the governor. It's been too long that he's been to Paramus, over a year now. And I'd like to take this opportunity not just to welcome him and the other elected officials, but also thank each and every one of you for your leadership over the past year. This is not something we ever planned on, but as leaders, we take the task head on. And I must credit the governor with always making the harder right decision instead of the easier wrong. And that's how I was brought up, and I'm sure each and every one of you were taught the same. So without any further ado, it's my great privilege and honor to introduce the governor of the great state of New Jersey to the great town of Paramus, Governor Phil Murphy.
Thank you, Rich. Love you, buddy. You're the best. Thank you. Rich, thank you. Rich, you will not be upset if I cede my speaking order, though, for one more person if I could. So it's great to be back, and thank you, and more on you in a minute. I will come back up in a second, but we're here to talk about putting money directly, federal money, into child care. We've done a lot of it already, but we're here to do more today, and my guess is we'll be doing more going forward. And I'd love to bring up someone who lives this every day, the owner of Little Learners Child Development Center. Please help me welcome Dawn Cleveland.
Good morning. My name is Dawn Cleveland, and I first would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone and be here on behalf of all the child care centers in the state of New Jersey. Like I said, my name is Dawn Cleveland, and I am the owner and director of Little Learners Child Development Center that is located in Hackensack. Child development is something that I am very passionate about. I think when you work with children, you're kind of like a superhero, caring for multiple children simultaneously, making sure their needs are met, and helping children achieve basic life skills that they will carry on with them for the rest of their lives, such as learning how to wash their hands the proper way, learning how to walk, to socialize, problem solve, their alphabet, their numbers, and we do so much more. We are the beginning stepping stones for achieving educational growth with young children. Childcare is essential not only to our economy, to our families, but most of all to the children. As a director and owner of a child care center, I wear many hats, and since COVID has become part of our lives, I wear even more now. In the past year, we struggled with low enrollment, families unable to afford child care since most of them lost their jobs or were afraid of sending their children. We struggled with paying our monthly expenses, and unfortunately, I had to cut the number of employees staffed at my center. On the other hand, the staff I had to keep and wanted to keep caused me to worry about having the funds enough to afford to pay their weekly wages. My staff is the golden gem of my center. They work extremely, extremely hard with caring for children's needs, following those CDC guidelines, growing their knowledge through workshops and online trainings for themselves, along while maintaining a fun academic atmosphere for all the children they care for. But guess what? Little Learners has survived this year. With more children coming back into childcare, we need more staff. And it was hard before the pandemic to find good-hearted, qualified staff, and now it has become even more of a challenge. Other companies can offer higher starting salaries, and overall, in the field that I am in, we have been known in the past to be known as a babysitting service and not in the educational field. But childcare is education for young children. Hehowever, this funding will allow providers to increase staff wages, assist in paying monthly expenses, provide families with mental health support. We will have the ability to purchase equipment and supplies needed for our childcare centers. We can continue to give the young children of New Jersey an excellent childcare program that will benefit their growth, development from years to come. Childcare is essential, and I am hopeful that we will continue on an excellent path to giving all the children the quality care they deserve. Once again, I thank you so much for this opportunity to speak on behalf of childcare centers in the state of New Jersey and to be part of this wonderful milestone. Thank you, Governor Murphy, for making this a very big priority. To my staff at Little Learners, and thank you for all with the families and children of New Jersey that you will help. I now would like to take this opportunity to thank Governor Murphy and also to introduce him. Thank you so much.
Well done. Thank you so much. Let's hear it again for Dawn Cleveland and her colleagues. Her colleagues, not just in her own business, but also colleagues who have been working tirelessly in the child care sector, particularly over these past 13 months. And to Don, to you and your gracious introduction, and for all that you and countless other educators are doing to ensure that our kids have safe, welcoming, and caring environments, we say thank you. So we got a bunch of dear friends here I want to acknowledge. County Executive Jim Tedesco and Paramus Mayor Rich LaBarbiera for hosting us. Thank you so much for, as always, the incredible welcome to your community. By the way, congratulations on the shout out that Paramus got in the New York Times, which was really richly deserved. I say not just to the mayor and county executive, but to the mayor and former mayor. Paramus is a favorite community of mine. It is a pleasure to be joined by so many others who put so much effort into supporting the essential role that our child care providers have not only played throughout this pandemic, but will continue to play in our ultimate recovery. I want to give a particular shout out to the guy sitting to my left, Congressman Josh Gottheimer. This is federal money, Josh. Thank you for everything you do to fight on our behalf down there. Members of the Rockin' Legislative District of Team 38, Senator Joe Lagana and Assemblywoman Lisa Swain. Is Chris here or not? Chris Tully. Chris Tully is here. Assemblyman Chris Tully, honored to see you as well. We have Tara Colton from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, and we have Steve Tonelli, one of my favorite people in all of New Jersey. Commissioner, bless you. It's great to see you with you. And we have Team Caminiti in the house. Somewhat against odds, Pete Sr. wearing a St. Louis Cardinals mask, but we will choose to ignore that for the purposes of sending our love to Pete and Team Caminiti. Before I begin to talk about child care, I must respond to the decision by both the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Food and Drug Administration asking for a full pause in the administration of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine out of an abundance of caution, while 6 reported U.S. cases of a rare and severe type of blood clot in individuals following vaccination are more fully investigated. In accordance with these recommendations, New Jersey is pausing the use of this vaccine at all sites pending this review. The adverse reactions being investigated appear to be extremely rare, as there have been nearly 7 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine administered nationwide. In New Jersey, we have administered roughly 235,000 doses of the J&J vaccine, with no similar reported adverse effects, No one who has received this vaccine should panic or worry. To ensure confidence in our vaccination program and the vaccines themselves, a pause for further investigation is a precautionary and smart step. As Health Commissioner Judy Persicelli, who I was just on the phone with before arriving, has already stated, the department will, as needed, help vaccination sites and individuals scheduled to receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to reschedule their appointments to receive either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, which remain in use. There have not been any similar reported adverse effects with these vaccines, and remember, they both use entirely different technology. Even with this pause, our overall goal of vaccinating 4.7 million adult New Jerseyans by the end of June remains not only in place, but entirely achievable. Our administration, through Judy Persicelli and her team, will continue to monitor the situation, and I promise you we'll communicate extensively with you. And now that I'm on COVID, just to give you a couple of numbers overnight, 3,466 more positives. Sadly, 49 more losses of life. There are now 2,319 persons in our hospitals. 243 went in yesterday. 203 live patients were discharged. Our spot positivity is about where it's been, 8.51%. And encouragingly, our rate of transmission continues to somewhat inch down. It's now 0.93. Keeping that under 1 is a big deal. So with that, as it relates to childcare and so many other things, it truly takes a village. The importance of affordable and accessible childcare cannot be overlooked. And Dawn gave us a real sense of this. For the past year, the families of our essential frontline workers, whether they be our healthcare heroes and first responders or essential retail workers, among so many others, have relied upon the child care providers in their communities to keep their kids safe as they worked to keep our communities safe. And I don't think there's anyone who would argue that these services and the men and women who have stood tall to provide them have been anything but absolutely essential. To be sure, we have been there standing shoulder to shoulder with our child care providers and families. Through the efforts of the Department of Human Services and the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, we have put forward more than $250 million in vital supports that have not only ensured that our child care providers can keep their doors open, but which have also made child care more affordable for our families. And we have to remember that the families who have relied most heavily on child care services are our middle class and those working hard to join their ranks. So today we take the next step and put some permanence to what we have achieved, working in partnership across all lines of government. This bill that I'll be signing in a few minutes will provide an additional $10 million in support to child care providers like Dawn, support for small businesses, and support for our kids and their families. Of course, none of this would be possible without the hard work that our federal delegation put in to secure the coronavirus relief funds from Washington that are making this possible. From Senators Bob Menendez and Cory Booker to Bergen County's incredibly strong representatives in the House, starting with this guy, Congressman Josh Gottheimer, who represents, among other communities, Paramus, but also Representatives Bill Pascrell and Albio Sirius. We owe them all a huge thank you. Thank you, Josh, to you and your colleagues. A few more quick notes before I turn the podium over. First, we know that access to affordable local child care was a concern for countless families before the pandemic, and through the budget that I've put forward, in which Joe and Lisa and Chris are now reviewing, we will ensure that we do not lose sight that this is a long-term issue, not just a pandemic issue. I'm extraordinarily proud that one of the first tax credits I enacted as governor was to give middle class and working families a break on child care costs. And the budget that I put forward last month would give that same benefit to all families now with incomes up to $150,000, which is a huge jump of eligibility. And while we know how vital affordable child care is for all families, we cannot ignore how especially essential it is for working moms. And the pandemic has simply put this into clear focus. When schools and work are both remote, as they have been in so many communities throughout much of the past year, it has been women who have shouldered an uneven load of responsibilities, from providing child care to continuing to perform in the workplace to managing immeasurable other demands. So we owe it to everyone, from small business owners to the educators and professionals they employ, to our families, to ensure a robust, accessible, and affordable child care system. And that is what exactly all of us are committed to. And finally, I know that Acting Commissioner Sarah Edelman would want me to remind everyone the Department of Human Services has extended its COVID-19 related child care assistance programs for families and providers through to the end of June. This includes waiving co-pays in the state's child care subsidy program for parents who request it due to impacts from the pandemic. We encourage everyone to visit childcarenj.gov. Again, that's childcarenj.gov for more information and to apply. Thank you all so very much for hosting me so graciously, as you always do, in this great community of Paramus. With that, it is now my honor to introduce, when we say we have fighters representing our state in Washington, we mean it. And there's no better fighter than this guy. Please help me welcome your Congressman, Congressman Josh Gottheimer.
Thank you, Governor, so much. And thank you so much to Mayor LaBarbiera and to our phenomenal county executive. I want to also thank Senator Lagana, Assemblywoman Swain, and Assemblyman Tully. I know who's down there. You should come up, Tully. We love you up here. And Dawn, thank you so much for what you had to say. I really, really appreciate what you do every single day. And Governor, let me just say thank you on behalf of all of us, not just for coming to Paramus today and for announcing this critical investment, but for everything you've done in New Jersey to help us get through this crisis, our families and our economy. We're all very grateful to you. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, man. Thank you, John.
As you all heard, we are here today to announce $10 million in federal investment here in Bergen County that we clawed back to Jersey through the Bipartisan CARES Act that we passed in Congress last year. These resources will not just help here, but of course across the 5th District and across the state. We all know this hasn't been an easy time, to say the least, for our state and for our families. A year ago, we were literally in the eye of the COVID-19 storm, right here actually in Bergen County. Since then, families have had to play the role of parent, teacher, daytime caregiver, and employee all at the same time, 24/7, in a way that for many parents who normally have to head out to work every single morning certainly wasn't the norm. Because of this sudden change, last year the pandemic devastated the child care sector. During the height of the pandemic, obviously families had to stay home to protect our children, and that, of course, had an immediate devastating impact on this sector. More than half of our child care providers, many of them women and minority-owned small businesses already operating on incredibly thin margins, had to close their doors. But now, help is on the way. Additional help is coming, with these bipartisan-backed federal dollars being delivered to the New Jersey Economic Development Authority to support child care providers like the one we heard from today. This federal investment will help child care providers reopen, operate, and recover, protecting child care workers, improving safety, and supporting hardworking middle-class families and their children here in North Jersey. We all know that many families here in the 5th District rely on child care providers to go to their jobs every single day. So as our economy begins to recover, this is key. It can't happen without a robust child care sector. We need these centers opened and operating so more folks can return to work. It's absolutely critical to our economy and to our families. That's why I focus so hard with my colleagues at the federal level, working with Congress and with the White House and back here at home to ensure that we do everything we can, not just to open these centers, but to make sure that our schools get reopened safely, get more teachers vaccinated, and get our kids back in the classrooms so parents can return to work and stay in the workforce, and that our kids, who are so important, we want to make sure that their academics and that their mental health is always a top priority, and we know it's so important. And I really want to thank the governor for his particular leadership in getting our kids back to school. Thank you, Governor. Last, I just want to say that in addition to the $10 million federal investment for child care providers, we're announcing today within the bipartisan, bicameral COVID-19 emergency relief package that I, along with the Problem Solvers Caucus, helped lead through the House in December. We include $10 billion to stabilize the child care industry and an additional $250 million for the Head Start program, which is so important to many families in our state. And in the most recent American Rescue Plan signed into law, we included $39 billion for child care providers. All of these resources are still heading out the door. All of these resources will help the state and our local governments provide even more support. So this comes from great cooperation from across the aisle and from across North Jersey. The bipartisan state bill was sponsored by many of the phenomenal state legislators that we have representing part of the 5th District here, and again, helping us get through this crisis. And they've been on the front lines every day fighting for us, and I'm just so grateful to them along with the governor, because I know that if we work together, we're so much stronger when we work as a team. And so let's keep getting those vaccines out. We'll make sure that we help our different sectors recover, our businesses, our small businesses, our families recover, and we do everything we can to support them, because here in the greatest country in the world, I know that together we can beat this virus and that our best days will always be ahead of us. So please, stay safe and healthy, take the vaccine, make sure you wear your mask, and do everything we can here in the greatest country in the world. God bless.
Let's hear it again for Congressman Josh Gottheimer, as good a fighter as we've got. Thank you, man. So I mentioned it takes a village. Josh underscored that theme, and thank you for your gracious words. We need great fighters in Washington like him. We need great mayors like Rich, county executives like Jim. We need great child care providers like Dawn, and we need great legislators. And we're going to hear from two of them from the Rockin' 38th. First up, please help me welcome the senator from right here, Paramus' own Senator Joe Lagana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's great to be here in Paramus today, which is my hometown, so I had a quick drive down here, so that's always nice. But I want to first thank the governor for choosing Paramus to sign this piece of legislation, which I am a co-sponsor of, in the backdrop of our wonderful library, which itself provides so many essential services to many families, children's programs that are just outstanding. And when we talk about essential services, library is always an essential place during any time in any community. So I'm just so glad. Len Lapinto has done a wonderful job here in Paramus. Thank you for what you continue to do. I know they're looking to expand the library, and they received a state grant, and so hopefully pretty soon we'll see an expansion of the child service programs here at the library. I'm happy to help, and I certainly will help in this year's budget. So thank you, Len, and all the board members here for Paramus. But again, great to be here, signing of S3520. I'm proud to have worked on this effort for this piece of legislation and 4 other bills from this package, which dedicated a total of $100 million on business and organizations hard hit by COVID-19. That's critically important funding for restaurants, arts, and cultural organizations, small and micro businesses, nonprofit organizations, and in the case of today's bill signing, $10 million in corona relief funds to support child care providers who have been hurt by this pandemic. Thank you, Congressman Josh Gottheimer, for your hard work, and from the beginning, when Josh first came into Congress till now, and I'm sure throughout all his career, he's been fighting each and every day to make sure that New Jersey got its due when it came to federal funding, and he certainly delivered now, and I know he's going to deliver in the future. So thank you so much, Josh, for making sure that the state had its resources to help its residents. Much appreciated. Child care services were certainly hurt during this pandemic. They saw reduced capacities, which took a serious toll on these businesses, many of which are small companies. They provide so many essential services to families, and federal funding allocated by this law will help child care providers remain in business, rehire, and continue to employ staff, and give so many children a safe place to learn and be cared for while more and more parents return to working in person again. Thank you to all my colleagues who had a hand in getting this bill to this point today, including Senator Ruiz of Essex County, who co-sponsored the bill with me. And I was very privileged to sponsor this bill in the other house with Assemblywoman Lisa Swain, who you're going to hear from momentarily. My partner in the Assembly, Chris Tully, both have done amazing jobs in the Assembly and doing what's right for the people of District 38 in the state. And I want to thank the governor for doing an outstanding job, not only when it comes to making sure that people in New Jersey are cared for, but for doing the right thing from the beginning of this pandemic all the way through the end of this pandemic. History will show that Governor Murphy made the right decisions all the way through. I'm very thankful that he's our leader at this particular point in time to help us get through such a difficult time in our lives. And Governor Murphy, we're proud to have you on the state level, Congressman, Mayor LaBarbiera, and County Executive Jim Tedesco, who we call the governor of Bergen County, who I think we're going to hear from in a little bit, has also done a wonderful job. When it comes to vaccine rollouts, I think we can say we're the gold standard, and it's thanks to his meticulous overseeing of the vaccine rollout. So, again, goes back to the theme of it takes a village. I'm proud to be part of this group, and I know that things will get better as long as we keep the faith and we do what's right. We will all come out of this and move on with our lives. So thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it, and thank you, Governor, so much for choosing for Paramus today. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Joe, thank you, and thank you for being one of our hosts today in Paramus. You mentioned Lisa and Chris Tully. They are your colleagues in the Assembly in the Rockin 38th Legislative District. And speaking on their behalf, as you mentioned, one of the sponsors of this bill, former mayor, by the way, herself, and an outstanding leader. Please help me welcome Assemblywoman Lisa Swain.
Ooh, that feels good. Thank you, Governor Murphy, for coming to Paramus, the heart of District 38, to sign my bill. This bill, as you heard, makes $10 million available from the COVID relief funds to the EDC to support child care providers who have been hurt by this pandemic. I also want to thank Congressman Gottheimer and the federal team for making these funds available. When I was a kid growing up in New York City, I was raised by a single mom. And before we were old enough to go to school, my mom put my brother and me in childcare. And so I think, what would my mother's life have been like if she didn't have that opportunity? And, this pandemic has made it so clear that our essential workers who have had to work day in and day out during this pandemic need a safe place to bring their children. So with Dawn here, I want to thank Dawn for what she's doing and representing all of the other child care providers throughout the state. Essential workers didn't have a choice. They had to go to work. And as a parent, you know that there's nothing more important than making sure your children are safe and protected. And during the pandemic, many of these child care providers reached into their own pockets to fund the extra PPE they needed and to pay their staff on a weekly basis. And some of them, unfortunately, eventually closed. But thanks to this bill, to this $10 million, this money will help fund the protections they need to keep their workforce and their littlest clients safe. So I'm so proud of this bill being signed into law, and I look forward to continuing the work that I do for children and families throughout the state. Thank you.
Congratulations, Lisa, and well done. And you've had a loss this week, so may their memory be a blessing, and we're all with you in prayer. Last but not least, Josh mentioned this awful virus first clobbered Bergen County. We all remember those awful days last March, April, May in particular. And the darn thing is still with us. And the variants, without question, are the dominant strain today. And guess what? It's clobbered us again in the metro New York counties. And we're still digging out of this thing. I'm a complete optimist. We will dig out of it. We will beat this thing. But we will not beat it without great leadership. And there is none better than the county executive right here in Bergen County. Please help me welcome Jim Tedesco.
Thank you, Governor. As the governor said, it's unfortunate that the variants keep playing a role, and the only way we're going to get out of this is by working together, by getting more vaccine in the arms of people here in New Jersey and around this country, and continuing to test and continuing to wear masks and washing our hands. We got to continue to do all of these steps. We just can't do one, or we just can't do two. We need to do all of them. And it's important that we all continue to remind people that. I want to thank the Murphy administration and the Legislative District 38, Senator Joe Lagana, Assemblywoman Lisa Swain, and my friend, Assemblyman Chris Tully, for spearheading the bill to support child care centers. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the biggest claw that we have in the Congress, and that's Congressman Josh Gottheimer. There's no one that fights more for us anywhere in the country than Josh does for the 5th District. And believe me, that claw is doing really well in getting funding back here to the 5th District, and especially here to us in Bergen County. So, Congressman, thank you. Keep up that work. Child care centers serve as a lifeline for working families who cannot work from home. And as you all know, you've heard that most people were asked to stay home and they had to work. Well, now that we're getting back to what will be a new normal, many people are having to make a difficult decision where both of the family members are breadwinners, but only one of them can choose to go back to work because they have child care issues. So this money that the federal government, through CARES, and the governor is putting forward to child care centers is huge in regards to helping these educational institutions, because we say child care, but you heard Dawn talk about educating people and teaching people, young people. I'm happy to say that we helped along that way here in Bergen County. Part of the CARES funding, we gave $58 million to small businesses here in Bergen County, and child care centers were part of that awarding of money. And I'm proud that we were able to help child care centers and small business throughout Bergen County. During the pandemic, these two income families made the choice. And today they're able to make another choice because they know that their children will be in good hands. This helps both child care centers and families at the same time. Child care centers prepare children to go to school. This legislative action also demonstrates the legislature's and administration's commitment to early childhood education. Helping children and parents together with child care business is a win for everyone. Thank you.
Amen, Jim. So well said, man. Love it. Thank you, Jim. So well said. With that, I'm going to have the honor right now to sign the bill. We're going to deal with the pens in a pandemic compliant way. Matt Stanishi, councilman from Greenbrick, will sanitize them and walk them over to the folks who are getting a pen. And then for the members of the press, after we sign this, I'll come down and spend a couple minutes with you all, if that's okay. Again, before I go over here, I want to thank our host, Mayor Rich LaBarbiera, one of my great friends. I love you, buddy. County Executive Jim Tedesco. Members of the 38th, Joe Lagana, Chris Tully, and Lisa Swain. Lisa, by the way, has just left to go to a family funeral, so keep her in your prayers. Congressman Josh Gottheimer, I love you, man. Commissioner Steve Tonelli, we love you. And we heard from someone who's on the front lines, Dawn Cleveland, who owns Little Learners Child Development Center. What's your website, Dawn? We'll give you a shameless shout out.
We don't have a website, but you can find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, you can find Little Learners Child Development Center on both Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
Check it out because it's a really good place. With that, let me sign this thing up. Okay, we ready? This is Assembly Bill number 5445. Again, the sponsors in the Assembly, Lisa Swain, Gabby Mascara, Adam Telefero, and in the Senate, Joe Logano, Teresa Ruiz, and then a whole bunch of co-sponsors. The synopsis, which we always read, makes $10 million in federal funds available to the Economic Development Authority to support child care providers in need, just as it should be. Okay. With that, let's get right to it. Behave yourselves over there. First up, Mayor Rich LaBarbiera.
Thanks, sir.
I love you, buddy.
Love you.
The owner of Little Learners Child Development Center, owner Dawn Cleveland. These pens are hot, by the way. Careful, the pens are really hot.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you so much.
This is a hot building, the pens are hot to prove it. From the 5th Congressional District, Congressman Josh Gottheimer.
Thank you, sir.
From the 38th Legislative District, Paramus' own Senator Joe Logano.
Thank you, brother.
Love you, man. We'll give this to her in absentia. Let's give her a shout out, Assemblywoman from the 38th, Lisa Swain. He is Bergen County's governor, County Executive Jim Tedesco. Man, these pens are hot. Also from the 38th Legislative District, Assemblyman Chris Tully. Where'd you go, Chris? Right here. There we go, man. Give me an elbow here, Chris. Nice to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Good. Love it. And in absentia, as Joe Logano mentioned, another sponsor, Senator Teresa Ruiz. With that, this bill is now the law of the land.
Yeah.
I'll take a screenshot. Next, I'll take the bill.